everyone. My name is Tiffany. I'm from Beijing, China. I go to a private university.
Hello everyone, this is Akshay. I'm from Mumbai, India. I go to a public university.
My name is Fatima, originally from Nigeria. I go to an HBCU, meaning historically black colleges.
My name is Nguyen, and I'm from Vietnam. I go to a community college.
I want to be able to influence the world, and United States stands out as a pace setter in research. I'm so excited about being here.
In my opinion, US degree is extremely impressive, and that makes studying abroad in the US an excellent choice.
There are many types of institutions in the United States.
I think it's just so unique that there's so many to choose from.
I had to make a major choice between the type of university that I was supposed to attend. The major factor that I considered was the scholarship opportunities that were available and the alumni network.
I've heard so much about the HBCUs as historically black colleges. I chose those because I wanted a school that really represents me.
As a humanities student, I prefer seminars instead of lectures because I find myself better understand the material if we get to discuss it in class. That led into my decision of going to a private university.
I chose a community college to study because most of the community college offer affordable costs, and they often offer a lot of majors you can choose from.
Some of the things I find that are in common between different types of institutions in the US is that the curriculum are more comprehensive.
It is more practical oriented that really helps you get hands-on experience about what you're learning.
Students can benefit from forward-thinking technology and modern facilities.
And I love the diversity, the fact that it's a melting pot for everywhere in the world. And so
hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's sessions. We are very happy to have you here today. My name is Alina, and I'm an Education USA advisor. And as you remember, I am moderating all these nice webinars that Education USA Virtual is preparing for you every month. And here you have on our screen a QR code that allows you to go to our agenda specifically for February. We are preparing these webinars every month, so stay tuned for our March events. This week, we are very active, so we would conduct a webinar every day till the rest of this week. So please stay tuned, please subscribe, and please register for our events. You have the option to submit your question. That is kind of much easier for us, so we can also discuss them with our speakers. So I would love to start with the fact that today we have another interesting webinar, and this is about studying liberal arts in the United States. And we have our speaker for today, Kelsey Greene from Pacific Oaks College. So Kelsey is an international students recruiter. So she has prepared for us an interesting presentation on how the student can research and how he or she can analyze the process of applying for a liberal arts institution or for a liberal arts degree. Kelsey, the floor is yours. If you can just introduce yourself, give us more details about what are the benefits and what are the awesome options that the students might have when they would research the liberal arts major.
Absolutely. So first, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to present on this topic. As Alina said, my name is Kelsey Greene. I'm an international student recruiter. I primarily recruit for Pacific Oaks College, which is located in Pasadena, California. I've been working there for about 3 years. And along with Pacific Oaks, we are partnered together with 5 other institutions. So we have the Chicago School, who is hosting a webinar on Friday. So I highly recommend joining that webinar as well. It was mentioned at the beginning of the session. Then we also have programs available at the Colleges of Law, Saybrook University, and University of Western States. Kansas Health Science University is not able to accept international students yet, but whenever we do, then we'll be happy to promote that as well. But primarily, I'll be focusing on liberal arts in general in the United States. So to get started, just the brief agenda for the presentation is I'll be going over the different degree options that fall within liberal arts education. I'll also cover a few common misconceptions that people have about liberal arts degrees, and then we'll also go over the real-world skills and applications of a liberal arts degrees and the value that these degrees hold in today's world. So in general, there are 5 major fields that fall within liberal arts. So the more common ones that we'll be covering today and we'll be focusing on are humanities, which encompasses English and literature, history, philosophy, religious studies, linguistics. Then you have the social sciences like psychology, sociology, political science, anthropology, economics, human development, and then fine and performing arts like music, theater, visual arts, and film and media studies. And depending on each institution in the United States, there are 2 other fields that can fall within liberal arts. Every university sort of defines it a little bit differently. Sometimes natural sciences and mathematics programs fall within the schools of liberal arts. Sometimes they're their own separate programs. But within natural science and mathematics, you have biology, environmental science, physics and chemistry, and also mathematics and statistics. So these are also fairly common in liberal arts, but typically you would see those humanities, social sciences, and the fine arts. You also have interdisciplinary studies. That's where you would blend different programs together to form one unique program, sort of your own making with faculty approval. Liberal arts students often will take a double major, double minors, or sometimes a major and a minor that don't seem like they're related, but they actually do support each other. For example, you might have someone with a psychology degree, but then they have a statistics minor. And there are many careers that it would be very useful to have both of those backgrounds. So the first common misconception that I want to discuss is that you won't find a job if you have a liberal arts degree. So that's a very common misconception, but the truth is that every field, every major does have its own unique challenges within its field. So even if you study business or engineering, it has its own unique challenges when it comes to looking for a job. But if you have a liberal arts degree, employers are often looking for students who have that interdisciplinary background, who have well-rounded education instead of just having one narrow focus, because it helps them build critical thinking skills, and they have a diverse range of skills that they bring into the workforce. There was a recent study done by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and employers often rank skills such as critical thinking and communication above technical aptitude as essential for career readiness. And that is listed on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics on the liberal arts page. So if you'd like to look more into that, I recommend checking out that page. And the next misconception is that you won't make good money with a liberal arts degree. So it is true that if you are from a STEM background, at the entry level, the starting salary is a little bit higher. But as you gain experience and you gain further education, you grow your skills, we start to see that evening out. And sometimes liberal arts majors can actually be making more than students with STEM backgrounds, depending on different factors. But in the United States, almost 12% of the top CEOs have liberal arts degrees. So it's not limited to just a small field that can go on to be top CEOs. If you'd like to follow up with me later, I can provide a list of some of those CEOs who have those degrees. It's just a little bit too much details for the webinar, but I'll be happy to share that at a later time. The next misconception, I have a quote that I'd like to share. This is really important. So it's from the Association of American Colleges and Universities report. And I'd like to read the quote because I think it's very valuable for students who are considering a liberal arts degree. Liberal arts majors are on average making more money by their mid-50s than those who studied in professional and pre-professional fields, and they are employed at similar rates. So liberal arts degrees don't have higher unemployment rates than those with professional and pre-professional degrees. Employers consistently say they want to hire people who have a broad knowledge base and can work together to solve problems, debate, communicate, and think critically, all skills that liberal arts programs aggressively teach. That's not to say that students who have different backgrounds, who go more into the STEM side, don't necessarily have those skills, but sometimes there can be a gap depending on the curriculum. But with liberal arts education, that is a primary focus of those programs. So any student who's within a liberal arts program are sure to have those skills by the time they graduate. The next misconception is that only people who can't handle STEM choose liberal arts. And that's not true. There are many different kinds of minds. Not everyone should go into STEM. You should follow what you're passionate about. So students who typically go into liberal arts degrees, it's simply because they're passionate about those fields. They might also be passionate about STEM, but there are other areas that they want to diversify. So we see students choosing history, philosophy, and literature because that's something that they're just really interested in. And they're able to sift through the peer pressure that sort of tells them to only go for a STEM degree because of those misconceptions that we've already covered. So we see students going for these programs because they've looked into themselves, they see what they actually want to study, and then they just jump in and go for it instead of just following the typical path. The next misconception is that employers only want STEM graduates. As you saw from the previous quotes, employers are looking for students who have a wide range of skills, including critical thinking and communication. That is incredibly important. And we see tech companies hire liberal arts grads for user experience, marketing, management, and policy. I myself, I have a bachelor's in nonprofit leadership and a master's in teaching English, but I've worked in user experience, I've worked in marketing, I've worked for insurance companies, I've worked in higher education. So I've been able to, because of the skills that I've learned during my education, I've been able to work in a variety of different fields rather than just being narrowed into one. I have another valuable quote that I'd like to share, and it's regardless of the industry, we need people who can solve problems, write well, speak well, bring multiple perspectives to decision making. We need people who are good managers, who are cross-culturally competent, and all of that is liberal arts. So there was another, in that report that I mentioned by the Association of American Colleges and Universities, 93% of employers care more about those skills, the soft skills of thinking critically, communicating clearly, and solving complex problems more than they do about what your bachelor's degree was. So what we've seen in the States is that employers often, they don't even care what school you went to. As we can see from this statistic, the undergraduate major does not carry as much weight as you might think. It's more about those soft skills. So when you go for your interview, that's part of the reason they don't just make decisions based off your resume. They like to meet with you. They like to speak with you. They like to see how you answer certain questions. And a lot of times that's what makes the difference between someone with a resume that looks more impressive, and then you have those other skills that come across off paper. So that's something that you'll want to consider as well. The liberal arts field is projected to grow between 4 and 19% in the next 10 years, specifically in healthcare, management, law, and education. There is projected to be a decrease in positions for liberal arts that are secretary jobs or low-level sales representatives and customer service. So that indicates that there's more value being placed on liberal arts within the areas of healthcare, law, management, and education. So as I mentioned, natural sciences do fall within liberal arts depending on the university. but we are focusing on the other three, the humanities, the social sciences, and the fine arts. So I have a list of some surprising examples of high-paying jobs in those non-hard science areas. So particularly, I wanted to point out the mediator. These are average salaries. The mediator average salary is around $101,000, and that's usually students would have a psychology communications background. So if you have any questions about psychology programs, I highly recommend attending the Friday webinar. I can also share some details later, but as you'll see, there's a wide range of liberal arts careers that do make pretty decent money. And these are entry-level salaries, so you can expect that depending on the location, the industry that you work in, any previous experience you have, and your degree level, you can actually make pretty good money with a liberal arts degree. So now when it comes to the real world skills and applications, I did mention the critical thinking and problem solving, so I won't hammer into that one too much more. But another important aspect of liberal arts education is being able to think from different perspectives. So liberal arts education is called liberal arts because it's not about being politically liberal. Liberal arts is more about liberating the mind, being able to think from different perspectives instead of having just one narrow scope. That way you can think about things from different perspectives. When you're working with different industries, you can resolve conflicts within the workplace. It helps you understand coworkers, directors, clients much better because you're able to see things from their perspective because of that critical thinking that's built into these programs. Also, the effective communication is very important. That's something that students are trained on, and it's something that employers highly value. Having an interdisciplinary understanding means that you are able to not just be locked into one path. So job trends come and go. Market demand changes depending on different jobs, different factors, politics, economics, but having different disciplines built into your education means that if you get laid off, you lose a job, the market changes, then you have other skills that you can fall back on instead of just having, say, if you go into engineering, you're not limited to just engineering. You can also do other jobs as well because you have a wide range of skills. And so you're able to adapt when there's any changes. For myself, I mentioned I've worked in a variety of different industries, and that's because I do have those skills that were built into my education. So the value of liberal arts in today's world is not underestimated. It's highly valued in every industry. And one thing that's very important, especially when politics can get a little bit crazy, is that liberal arts education, it can help employees bridge the gap during times of division. So it's very easy to sort of get locked into your own mindset. But when you are trained in critical thinking and communication skills, you're able to communicate with people who think very differently from you, and you're able to connect them with other people who think very differently from them as well. So this is helpful not only in communities, but also in work. Especially if you work for an international company, that will be very important because you'll have to consider other cultures, other religions, other priorities. So that can be very important for those types of roles where you might be working on international contracts, anything that's related to international law, because it will be very important to have those really respectful connections and to build up rapport between your company and companies within other countries, or even within different industries, or even within departments that may be different but not naturally have a connection with an organization. With liberal arts, we have a diversified workforce, and so that means there's less competition for certain jobs. If everyone studies engineering, business, and computer science, there's probably not going to be enough jobs to go around. But if you have a diversified workforce, then there's less competition for those jobs. One thing that's also very important is that liberal arts education helps us remember the past to help the future. So this is very important that we have historians, that we have filmmakers who remake historical events so that we can see what's already happened, and then we can try to avoid pitfalls in the future. So an example that I think is really interesting of liberal arts education is the entertainment industry. So anytime you watch a movie or a TV show or listen to music or watch a music video, you'll see the impact of hundreds and thousands of people who have liberal arts degrees. So on any film project or music video, there are writers, there are actors, there are historians, linguists, physicists, there are chemists, there are digital and performing artists, musicians, even psychologists, depending on the film, who work directly with the film project or they're on a consultation basis, and they help make ideas come to life. And I'm sure everyone watches movies and listens to music, and I can't imagine a world without film and music. I think we would all feel a little bit lost without that. And film and music can be very powerful. We've seen it in activism, we've seen it in world events, we've seen it in protests. So it would be a very different world without liberal artists, because we would be missing out on the entertainment industry. So regarding our specific programs, I just wanted to quickly provide some details about our liberal arts programs that we provide both at Pacific Oaks College and at some of our partner institutions. So at Pacific Oaks, we offer early childhood education at the master's and bachelor's level. Same for our human development programs. We also offer business and management programs that have international interdisciplines. Our students go on study abroad trips, and they approach business from a very different perspective from what you typically would see. At the Chicago School, we have business psychology, forensic psychology, clinical psychology, behavioral economics, criminology, psychopharmacology. And then Saybrook University, we have humanistic psychology, which is a very different approach to psychology from the Chicago School, transformative social change. And at colleges of law, we have business, law, and technology programs, including aspects of business and law, such as entrepreneurship, e-discovery, e-commerce, and quite a few more disciplines as well. With each of these institutions, we do offer scholarships. And because I'm primarily promoting Pacific Oaks College, I will let you know that international students are able to receive up to 50% tuition scholarship that's renewable each year of the program. So to share some final tips, I just want to say be open-minded, take in advice from other people, but then also pay attention to what you want to study. Be open to different areas of study. Just don't be afraid to at least research other programs. So you may already know exactly what you want to study, but I will say try to have other interests as well. I do have quite a few friends who are scientists who have gone into computer science, or they've gone into engineering, but then they found later in life that they actually did not want to work as engineers, and they have kind of moved over to the liberal arts side and are using a very different set of skills than what they've learned in their engineering background. One of my friends, he's actually a director doing the same job that I'm doing now for another university, and he's an engineer. So just be mindful of your interests and your passions. I almost went into a STEM field, but I decided I couldn't see myself in that STEM field for the rest of my life. So I looked around, tried different options. I actually didn't decide my major until my second year of college. And that was only because my advisor said that I couldn't take any more classes unless I declared a major. So just be mindful that whatever you pick now you're not doomed to that specific path. You can always change to something else. So even if you start off with a liberal arts education, you can apply for a different program later. You can transfer to other institutions. You can always change your mind. It's never too late to change paths. So just be mindful of what your interests are, explore different things, and you might find something that surprises you. talk to others who are working or studying in different fields. So you can talk to people who are studying business or work in business, those who are working in liberal arts, get their feedback, see if they're enjoying what they're doing, see if their interests might align with yours, and then kind of go from there. And then when you do get into a program and you start your classes, I strongly advise you that you don't just go to class. So that means that you're doing things outside of class to help build up your resume, because in the States, it's very important for you to have those hands-on skills, those practical skills. So if we have a Harvard graduate and they have straight A's, but they don't have anything on their resume, and then we have a student from a school that no one has ever heard of and they're a B student, but they have a lot of experience on their resume, they're more likely to be picked by employers because they see that the students actually know what they're doing. They've worked, they've built up some experience. They also have connections. So look for programs that allow you to do internships. And then if not, then you can do volunteer internships so that you can get some experience. You can create a portfolio and build up your network. That way, by the time you graduate, you're a little bit more of a competitive applicant. I've shared some statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So if you do plan on working in the U.S., I strongly recommend that you take a look at that website. It has information and data for pretty much every industry. So I'm not sure if there's something similar in your country, but if you're planning on coming back to your country, then I would look at those statistics for your country as well. But for the states, highly recommend the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then finally, of course, consult with Education USA. They have amazing resources. They're here to help students navigate higher education in the US from the very beginning all the way until you arrive. So make sure you consult with them if you have any doubts. I'm sure that they have a list of resources that they can provide for you. And finally, I would just like to provide my contact details. So if you scan this QR code, that'll take you to our website for international admissions for Pacific Oaks. But if you have any questions about our other programs at our partner institutions, I'm happy to help with those as well. So my email is pointernational@pacificoaks.edu. And my WhatsApp number is +1 312 410 8982. So I'll leave this on the screen for a little bit if that's okay, Alina. And then if we have any questions, then I'm happy to go ahead and answer.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelsey. And thank you specifically also for breaking up, all these myths about the liberal arts education, because we have a lot of students that would often come to us and they would say that, yes, liberal arts maybe would not get me the perfect job or the most paid job, or yes, that STEM job that I would like to, that I'm dreaming of, and I cannot really apply for that now because I don't have the sufficient, credits or GPA or anything related to the application package. But yes, on the other side, there is the option to take this liberal arts major that gives you more time to think about maybe the major that you want to take in 2 years or in 1 year from now. So yes, definitely the students can consider this option. You guys can also submit the question, but I have here more of them that some of you have submitted before the start of the webinar, because we are always mentioning that there is a registration link that you can use to submit your questions in advance, and we will answer them during the webinar. So, Kelsey, one of the first question is, what is the tuition price at Pacific Oaks? I know you've specified that there is the possibility to get a scholarship, and that's 50% funded by the university, but maybe you can tell us approximately what can be the tuition price, the cost of the books, housing, and all other details that might be interesting to our students.
Sure. So with the undergraduate programs, it's a little bit tricky to give an exact total, but for the first 2 years of the program, it's $400 per credit hour. And so that takes you halfway through the program. And then there's a slight increase for the last 2 years, up to $890 per credit hour. Let me just quickly pull up some information about our program, our 20 costs. That way I can give you an idea of what it looks like with and without the scholarship, because it does vary by major as well. So there are a few factors that do affect the cost of the I-20 costs. So give me just a moment and I will quickly pull that up.
Sure. Okay, so meanwhile, maybe we can also, meanwhile you are browsing that, we can also go to the next one. But yes, we already understood that it depends on the major that the student would like to apply for. Good. The next question, and I think it's also a good one. How can I make my application stronger for a liberal arts program?
Absolutely. So this is not just for Pacific Oaks, but it's for most institutions. There's a new trend where they're looking very strongly at the personal statement as well as the resume to see if you have any volunteer experience. But that personal statement is so important. There are institutions who admit students with a very low GPA based on the personal statement being really amazing. That's your chance to show who you are. It's called a personal statement because the school wants to know who you are as a person. It is very personal. They want to know how your passions are and how they align with the program. Why are you enrolling in the program? Will you be a good fit? Will you be a good student? Will you be a good ambassador for the university as an alumni? So these are things that are really important. So if you have a personal statement that doesn't really communicate why you're enrolling in the program, and it just sounds like a general personal statement, not specific to the program, not specific to the school, then you won't stand out as much. So I highly recommend that when you're doing your personal statement, really think about why you're choosing the program, why you're choosing the school. And then after you've written out those ideas, check it for spelling and grammatical errors. Have someone else read it who's fluent in English. I'm not sure if Alina, if you all help with personal statements, but always check with Education USA. I'm sure they have resources to help with that. If you're applying for Pacific Oaks, I have resources that I can send to you also. I do that frequently for students. So just really focus on that personal statement, and that will be very important. So of course, resume is important too. So if you're still in high school or if you're doing your undergrad and you're looking at a grad program, just make sure that you're part of student clubs, part of student organizations. If you have part-time work, include that. If you've done any volunteer experience, especially if it's related to the program or your long-term career goals, include that information as well.
What about the extracurricular activities? Are those important when applying to a liberal art program?
So it depends. If you're referring to things like sports or like chess team, not really. Those are not academic. They're not professional skills. So they do show that you're involved, but generally they're not reviewed during the application process.
So that's a good point, especially for those who are really struggling. They don't have a lot of extracurricular activities, because we have a bunch of students who would say that, yes, I wasn't so active during my high school, so I don't know what I can do now and how can I fill out this extracurricular activity statement and place what activities should I include there. So I think that's a great point for those who have that. Okay, the next question: how important are SAT or ACT scores for getting into liberal arts colleges? What about Pacific Oaks? Is that test optional for them?
So yes, we are test optional. What we've seen in the US is that most universities are getting rid of those sorts of exams. So even at the graduate level, there are some programs that do require things like GRE, GMAT, but all of our institutions are SAT, ACT optional. You can include them if you like. They can sometimes make your application stronger if you have a really high score, but they're really not necessary. Like I said, we look at students' application holistically. So we look really heavily at the personal statement, the resume. Of course, you need to have a certain minimum GPA. For Pacific Oaks undergraduate GPA, we need a 2.0, which is about a 50% passing rate. To be eligible for the scholarship, you need to have a 2.5. For graduate, entry is 3.0 minimum. with a 3.5 minimum for the scholarship. But that being said, if your GPA is a little bit lower, but you have that strong personal statement, or if you have decent scores, then definitely include those.
Okay, great. And what does a typical liberal arts curriculum looks like, and how much choice the students can have in their courses?
That is a great question. So it does depend on the university. So some programs, they have, most programs, they'll have a core curriculum. So that's those specific courses that you'll need to take within that program. But then there are a lot of electives that you can choose from. So some programs, say for a bachelor's, that's like 120 credits, you'll have 70 to 90 credits of those core classes that are required. But then the rest of the courses are elective courses. So you can choose from a list of courses what you want to take so that you can have that wide a range of skills. And some institutions, they allow you to choose courses that are within different programs.
Great, thank you so much. Another question, are there specific challenges that international students might face when adapting to a liberal arts system, and how can they overcome these challenges?
That's a good question. So I'm not sure how it is in your countries, but from the countries that I visited, some of the biggest challenges is just getting the parents on board with the liberal arts education, because oftentimes I think there's that stereotype, the misconceptions that we talked about, that if you don't go into STEM or business, you're not going to get a good job. Or you may not get a job. So that's really the hardest part, is getting parents on board, demystifying those things, because students also hear from their friends. Their friends have family who are studying in the States, so things get a little bit muddled. So one thing that we can do for students is that we do one-on-one meetings with our students. So even if they're not ready to apply, they just have some basic questions, and there's no pressure to apply after the consultation. We invite students to include their parents on the consultation or their friends on the consultation. That way the student is getting their questions answered, but so is the parents as well. So that's one of the more significant ones that I've seen, at least from the beginning part of the student cycle. And then as far as adjusting to the liberal arts system, I think maybe something that might be a challenge is not having classes just all in one core and all of the classes are being related. You'll have to, your mind kind of has to bend a little bit between different disciplines. So say you'll have psychology, but you also have biology classes, and you have humanities classes and history classes. Pretty rigorously. So I think.
What about the homesickness? Because we have another one about homesickness specifically in cultural shock. I suppose you have a lot of students that are struggling with that.
Yes. So that's understandable. I'm in India right now. That's not my home country, and I'm only here for 2 weeks, and it's not easy being away from home. But one thing that's been helpful for me here is I have friends here. I've met them for dinner. So I feel like I have support here. So and with universities, they always have like an international office on campus. You can get, before you leave, Education USA can help prepare you for culture shock. And then when you come to campus, you'll do another orientation with the on-campus international advisor. So they're there to help you prepare. They kind of let you know that it's going to take time to adapt. Sometimes it takes a semester, sometimes it takes a year before you really start to feel like you belong. And you do belong, by the way. You just might not feel like that. So you'll have that international support. Many institutions have international student clubs, and that's another way for students to support each other. So it's also very helpful to try to make friends with Americans, because I've seen some students, they stick to students who are just from their own country, and they do struggle a little bit more to adapt to classes, to living on campus, and when it comes to finding a job, they have a little bit of a harder time because they haven't acclimated to the culture. So you can join on-campus organizations, talk to your classmates. Even if you're a little bit shy, it's it's for your benefit to really try to make connections, and your international advisor on campus can also help support you if you, even in the middle of the semester, the end of the semester, you're still feeling like that. You can just come in and talk with them, and they can help connect you with other international students, American students who are often international ambassadors. I was an international ambassador on my campus when I was a student, and I would help students try to feel more comfortable in the US. So there are a lot of resources for students who, are moving to a whole new place for a long duration of time. So you're not just being thrown out to sea all alone. There's support for you.
Awesome. And I think one of the options that might be also getting this part-time job that you already also mentioned about. Can you tell us maybe at Pacific Ops, what are the options for international students? If they would plan to have a part-time job, can they start since the first semester? And what jobs there are? What is the variety of them?
Yes, so we do have on-campus jobs, and international students are able to start working their first semester. So you don't have to wait. There are all kinds of different jobs on campus. You can work in offices, you can work in the library, you can work in the cafeteria, and international students are limited to 20 hours per week of work during the semester. But then during the summertime, if those positions are still available, you can work up to 40 hours per week. So definitely look for those. We do have, once you become a student, there's a student portal where those jobs are listed, and you can apply even before you come to campus. Once you start the process of, your booking flights and everything, you can apply for those jobs.
Great. And the last one that is from me, it's about the CPT and OPT. Are the students able to do that? And how long would that be doing the CPT, for example, for a liberal arts major? Because we know a lot of students, and international students specifically, they will go for a STEM major because they would want to, to stay for 3 more years doing their, extending their experience in the US. What about a liberal arts major? How does it work? Like getting that?
Yeah. So with Pacific Oaks right now, this is our 3rd year of accepting international students. So we are planning on making some changes to our curriculum, because right now our programs are not STEM designated. So that means students have just the 1 year of OPT after they graduate. And then some of the programs also don't have internships, so you wouldn't be able to do the CPT, but we're working on getting that changed. So hopefully students will be able to take advantage of those. But I will say that because we have very small class sizes, then you're able to build your network very easily. So our students don't usually struggle finding jobs after they graduate. Many of their classmates already have their own businesses, or they're already working full time, so they're able to connect you. So that way we have students who are able to find jobs even before they graduate, because there's a 60-day grace period after you finish your program to find a job for your OPT. So if you already have a built-up network, it's much easier to find a job.
Awesome. So I think we are done with all the questions that we have got. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for answering all of them. I really appreciate your time and your experience. And thank you guys for being today with us. I really hope that the information that Kelsey provided to us today is going to be also useful for your research and for you reconsidering maybe your major. And thank you once again, Kelsey. Thank you once again to everyone. Stay tuned for our future events, and please join us for our webinars for tomorrow and after tomorrow. We are waiting for you. Please submit your question in advance. That is going to be very helpful for us. Okay, so I see that there is a question, by the way, in the chat, so I think we should answer that one. Sure. There is someone that submitted that now last minute. Hello, is the application for your PhD school different from MA or BA?
Okay, that's a great question. So in terms of the application, the online application, it's all housed in the same portal. So just depending on which program you apply for, it'll populate different requirements. So generally for our bachelor's programs, we just look at the GPA, the resume, and your English proficiency scores. And then for the master's level, then sometimes there's an additional essay, letters of recommendation. It just depends on the program. With Pacific Oaks, we have one doctoral program right now, and it it has specific requirements as well. Students need to submit a transcript evaluation, English proficiency, of course, writing samples, and I believe that one is early childhood education, so any teaching experience is required as well. But for our partner institutions, like the Chicago School and Saybrook University Colleges of Law, it's the same thing where the online application is all the same place. So you can go into the application and submit 4 different applications for different degree levels. So it's a pretty smooth process. And then once you submit the application, it'll show you exactly what documents you need to submit for each program that you're applying to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for answering at this one. I hope it helps. Okay, so we are wrapping up. Guys, if you have some additional question after we finish with our session, please submit them here in the chat, where you can find our email address on our website. Kelsey also shared with you her contact information, so I hope you can also use that one. Thank you again. You have everyone a great evening, because it's also evening for Kelsey. And yes, good luck with your application.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.